This morning's story comes to us from NBCChicago.com. Chicago Police Department Sergeant Ronald Watts was convicted on corruption charges, but critics alleged there were plenty more which went unpunished.
Former Chicago Police Sergeant Ronald Watts. Years ago, he pleaded guilty to extorting drug dealers. Today, at an online hearing, a judge tossed out 6 more convictions of people that Watts put in jail. That makes 100 cases in all that have been overturned. And more could still be freed. Lawyers are reviewing 100 other cases linked to Watts.
Now, 3 years later, in March of 2021, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, that's COPA, issued its first recommendations in the case to Chicago Police Department Superintendent David Brown. While the report remains confidential, the mere fact that recommendations were made indicates COPA believes some level of discipline up to dismissal is merited against more officers from Ronald Watts' team. Attorney Joshua Tepfer asked what took so long. He represented Ben Baker and obtained dozens of exonerations for other Ida B. Wells residents who said they were also framed.
Good morning. Actually, 14 people could see their convictions thrown out this week. 10 of them appear before a judge about a half hour from now. They say former Chicago Police Sergeant Ronald Watts ruined their lives, and they are looking for vindication.
Fast forward to June of 2021, where a veteran Chicago police sergeant has been stripped of his police powers and placed on administrative duty as part of an ongoing scandal involving a Chicago Police Department tactical team which operated on Chicago's South Side. The Civilian Office of Police Accountability, or COPA, had forwarded recommendations to Police Superintendent David Brown back in March as part of an ongoing probe of the team that was headed by disgraced Sergeant Ronald Watts. Chicago Police Department spokesman Don Terry would not confirm that the decision to strip Sergeant Alvin Jones was related to those recommendations, but said the sergeant was relieved of his police powers this month, June 2nd. Jones was a longtime member of the Ronald Watts tactical team.
Watts and officers under him targeted people at the Ida B. Wells housing projects. It went on for 10 years until 2012 when Watts was indicted. This is expected to be the 4th mass exoneration in less than a year connected to Watts. The last group was exonerated in November. 10 are in court this morning. 4 more will go before a judge Wednesday morning.
Both the FBI and an undercover team of Chicago police officers investigated the Ronald Watts officers. In the end, only Watts and one other officer, Khalat Mohammed, were criminally charged, and both went to prison. But amid the exploding scandal involving allegations of wrongdoing by other officers on the Watts team, more than 100 convictions had been overturned.
They claim Watts detained them at the housing complex and demanded they pay him money, a so-called protection tax. They say Watts planted drugs and fabricated charges against those who did not pay. The University of Chicago Law School's exoneration project represents many of the defendants. It says if things go as planned this week, this will bring the total to 63 exonerations. The attorneys say it won't end there, with more cases under review.
This included Ben Baker, who was arrested in 2005 and eventually sentenced to 14 years in prison. The COPA report specifically referred to the Ben Baker case. NBC5 Investigates reported that COPA recommendations potentially impacted one sergeant and at least 3 other officers connected to Ben Baker's arrest. Ben Baker's case was overturned and he was released from prison in 2016. Don Terry, the police spokesman, would not comment on whether any of the other officers were included in the COPA recommendations. He said, quote, the superintendent has completed his review of the COPA recommendations and referred the matter to the law department. Alvin Jones was part of that referral. 3 years ago, amid repeated waves of exonerations involving the Ronald Watts team, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office sent a letter to Chicago police notifying them that they would no longer call 10 members of the Watts team as witnesses in criminal cases due to ongoing concerns about the credibility and alleged involvement in the misconduct of Sergeant Ronald Watts. Sergeant Alvin Jones was one of those 10 officers.
Now, state's attorney Kim Foxx has apologized following the mass exonerations in the past. Her office says it is no longer using testimony from the officers tied to Ronald Watts.
And so this is part 2 of my 3-part series on Chicago police officers that are being stripped of their police powers. Yesterday we talked about Evan Solano, and then today it's Sergeant Alvin Jones. Tomorrow I'm going to finish up with another sergeant who went to a casino and, well, lost police powers. But technically we're talking about 5 cops, right? Because years ago, Sergeant Ronald Watts and Khalat Muhammad got sentenced to prison, so technically those 2 cops lost their police powers. Interesting to note that Superintendent David Brown was not only the police chief of Chicago Police Department, but Dallas, Texas. So it just occurred to me that David Brown was the superintendent of both these police departments, and both are cleaning house. I don't know. There's just got to be some type of Zen riddle there. There's some type of, philosophical Confucius say that David Brown was there. It was a dirty police department. He comes to Chicago, dirty police department. I mean, is this guy, they should call him the janitor, right? Because he's cleaning everything. Or is he? You have to ask yourself, how many other police departments in large cities and metropolitan areas have this problem? I mean, American law enforcement is out of control. That's why we do these editorials. That's why we cop watch. That's why we record the police, because they're out of control. So I don't know what you guys think. Before I close, those of you who have seen the commentary video that I did on News Now Omaha, he almost got shot again in Iowa. And people are really upset because I said, I put the caption in there that if it weren't for great poise, he would have been shot by this police officer or something like that. I think what I meant was, when I said she displayed poise, was that she didn't pull the trigger. That's what I meant when I said poise. She pulled her gun at him, and poise, I meant she just held it until he got arrested.
Stop! Put your hand down. Let me see your hands.
You're a dumbass woman, you know that?
You got a firearms case on you right now. Stand right there.
Don't touch me, dude.
Stop. Up against. You're fine. You're fine.
Hey, bro, don't violate my rights.
There are a lot of cops. There are a lot of cops that would have pulled that trigger on him. Because what happened, and you could hear her say in the video at one point, she says, "Get your hands out of your pockets." And we've seen it before on body cams and News Now Patrick's video and somebody else's video. I think it was News Now Oklahoma. But we've seen where Floyd puts his hands in his pockets and goes, and then runs up on the cops. You have to understand, look, whether he's committing a crime or not is irrelevant. When a cop does this, you go, all right, hey, I'm just filming you. That's all I'm doing. You don't keep walking up on him and put your hands in your pockets and go, what? You're going to get shot. So when I used the word poise, I meant in the fact that she just stood aiming and didn't pull the trigger. That's what I meant. Because it's true. Because there are a lot of cops who would have just went, ouch! He was coming at me, had his hands in his pockets. She did display poise in that she didn't pull the trigger. That's what I meant. Because, look, the cops are trained. You got somebody, he had been talking, not talking. She tried to stop him up top, and he ran down the hill away from her. So you got a guy that's avoiding the police cars. He's got his hands in his pockets. Floyd, he's acting, and then you get him at gunpoint and he starts approaching you with his hands in his pockets. Is he on meth? Is he on bath salts? What's going on with this guy? I'm not saying he committed a crime, but I'm saying that, look, it's a chess game. This is a chess game. And sometimes even when you're not committing a crime, you have to move your pieces smartly. Say, okay, this time I'm not going to move a rook, I'm going to move a pawn. But some people get out there and they don't know how to play chess, and they just start throwing their pieces all over the board. And sometimes you have to do what a cop says, even though you don't want to. I mean, it's okay to push it a little if you're not breaking the law, as long as you're not breaking the law. But when a cop does this, all right, what's up, man? Why are you pulling a gun at me? I'm just filming you. You know, that's when you stop. I don't know. I've said a lot here. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Tomorrow I'm going to continue part 3 of 3 on my series on Chicago police officers losing their powers. Thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy your day.